kept.
Ever heard of Detroit Lions player Amon-Ra St. Brown? Well, Ed Wolf van der Merwe certainly has. Rugby.
And then celebrates in style.
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Update. Finally, the fallow weeks are done and we can get on with the business of finding out who's the hardest team in the north. Nothing can now come between our animalistic lust for violent entertainment and the boys breaking their bodies to sate it. That said, the fallow week did come between us and a power rankings, so for this week we'll just look ahead at the games coming up and maybe some news, who knows. Let's get into it. The first massive King Kong vs Godzilla game is on early on Saturday. The Lions will be traveling to Durban to take on the still probably pissed off Sharks. They will be very angry for getting stunted on by those poors from Doornfontein and will be looking to get revenge. If you can survive the hype of that game, then a probably almost as good game will be happening in Dublin right after. Rightfully, it is being billed as the championship decider. The unstoppable looking island with their newly tweaked game plan will be hosting the French, who got out-tacticked by Borthwick and will want to show that they are still le bee's knees. So it seems like Ireland has moved a bit more towards kicking in their game plan and away from what we perverts in the business call a fuck ton of phases. They're not running it from as deep as before and they are happier to just defend and be absolute bastards at the ruck, which sounds a bit nobody. Maybe he's been in the Leinster makers' ears and telling them to add more ruck fucker juice to the blood tanks that Doris and the boys are suspended in between games. Whatever the case, they aren't scoring as many points as before, but they're also not using as many phases, so they're not as tired and it's not as risky. France is still Antoine Dupont. He's still making a whole lot of the decisions on attack, and therefore there's a lot of options around him usually when he's at the ruck. So your homework for this game is to look out for fists and feet and shoulders and back scratches and those hands that you throw against the wall that are all sticky, or any other means the Irish will use to try and slow down Antoine's ball at the ruck, or just to make it messy. I'm really looking forward to it. It's the biggest game of the year so far, so you gotta go watch it. The next game on Saturday will be interesting for a whole host of other reasons. Scotland will be hosting Wales at Murrayfield and it will be Matt Bradsharat's second chance at bat. Wales will be hoping that their much better than expected performance against Ireland wasn't just because of the dead coach bounce and a continued rise out of the ashes for the Welsh Phoenix. Is that a thing? The team just looked so much happier and more engaged, and they will probably still lose badly against Scotland. The hosts are still a top 4 to 5 team in the world for the first 50 or 60 minutes of a game, which should be enough to put a big gap between them and Wales. At least Townsend better hope that happens, because he doesn't have the neuralizer this year to wipe his boss's memories, and they will be looking down the M8 at the results in Glasgow and wondering if they can bring that to the big house. Watch out. Okay, and the final game is on Sunday, and it will probably be a bit of a damn squib if history is anything to go by. It doesn't matter what is happening in the English camp, be it player revolts or coaches fighting each other, they always manage to put 50 points on the Azzurri. Even with the Italians coming off a 70-point milling at the hands of the French, there's just something about the England game that nullifies everything they do. But isn't that nice to say, the England game? It's finally crystallizing into something we can recognize and say, that's Borthwick. If they pick a sports car at 15, they'll probably be running it back. But if they pick the battleship, they're probably going to be putting up bombs all night. Have a back row of Oompa Loompas, then pray for your rucks. But if they have an actual tall guy at 8, then beware your lineouts. This is all cool to say. You can actually see Borthwick's ideas. And no matter what he does, Twickenham will boo them. I don't know why. Winning is good, guys. So, go watch all those games. Except maybe Sundays. Go for a walk then. And then next week we can do an actual power rankings that won't go off the rails. I don't promise. Now, let's do some news. Yes, I still have the laptop where I'm reading from. And was there any news? Well, only the small matters of Stephen Kitsoff, Conor Murray, Peter O'Mahony and Cian Healy retiring from rugby. All three of these legends were instrumental in turning the Irish team into the juggernaut that it is today, with Conor Murray especially being able to lay claim to being the best nine in the world a few times throughout his career. Stephen Kitsoff, on the other hand, can probably lay claim to being the best loosehead prop in the world for almost his entire career. Imagine being him, playing pro rugby while you're still like 18 or 19 years old, then going to France at a young age and coming back and being a Springbok in your mid to early 20s as a prop, which is hard. He also went on, obviously, to win 2 World Cups and be a founding member of the legendary Bomb Squad. Few players has a resume as good as his, and I will dearly miss seeing him come around the corner on that first carry. Go well, Steve. I hope to drink some of your beer one day. It's really hard to find. And the final news is that you won't be surprised that I did not miss this fucker being in the Bulls jersey. That's right, the two extremely rich owners of the Bulls have reached between their couch cushions and pulled out a cool 15 million rand a season between them, allegedly, to get Handré Pollard back in blue in Pretoria. Yay! Yes, I know it's cool to have global stars playing in the Urk and in South African sides no less, but it just shows in stark relief how poor my team's 1%er owner is compared to that team's 2 1%er owners. We're just going to keep losing to those fucking khaki wearers north of the XK forever, aren't we? I'll keep making videos about us losing, so I'll see you all next week to talk about us losing against the Sharks again. Damn. Bye.